and they all should let us be. We belong to you and me. I believe in you. You know the door to my very soul. You're the light in my deepest, darkest doubt. You're my savior when I fall. And you may not think I care for you when you know down inside that I really do. And it's me you need to show. How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love? I really mean to love.
Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for your interest in attending our event today. First of all, I would like to know, am I audible? Can anyone help me to know if I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so today we are welcoming you to our grand event in celebration for World Mental Health Day. It's a series of webinars with the grand theme Mental Health Summit, Think Global, Act Local. Selamat pagi dan salam sehat mental teman-teman semua. Terima kasih sudah mendaftar dalam event kami kali ini dan kami pada hari ini mengadakan kegiatan besar dalam rangka merayakan Hari Kesehatan Mental Sedunia. Kegiatan ini merupakan rangkaian webinar dengan tema besar yang kami ambil, yaitu Mental Health Summit, Think Global, Act Local. My name is Patricia, and I will be your facilitator for the whole event today. This time, we will learn together about global initiative and tech innovation in mental health services. We hope that this webinar can help you expand your horizon and inspire you to innovate and contribute to mental health services development in Indonesia. Of course, we have invited our distinguished speakers who will be sharing their experiences from their respective countries. Salam kenal teman-teman, nama saya Patricia, dan aku bakal berperan sebagai fasilitator selama kegiatan ini berlangsung. Pada webinar kali ini, kita akan belajar bersama tentang Global Initiative and Tech Innovation in Mental Health Services. Kami harap webinar ini dapat membantu memperluas wawasan global dari teman-teman dan mampu menginspirasi teman-teman agar mau berinovasi dan berkontribusi untuk pengembangan layanan kesehatan mental di Indonesia. Tentunya dalam rangka webinar ini, kami sudah mengundang beberapa pembicara hebat yang akan berbagi pengalaman inovasi mereka dari negara mereka masing-masing. Next slide, please. Thank you. Before we start, I would like to read out some rules for us to follow during the webinar. So, the first is all participants are expected to mute their microphone unless asked to give their opinion or they want to ask a question or perhaps sharing some of their answers. All the participants are also expected to when they want to turn on their microphone, then please ask for permission from me as the facilitator, or you can ask for permission through the chat and then wait for me to permit you, and then you can turn on your microphone. All questions that you would like to deliver to our speakers will be delivered under a separate session. So we will have a Q&A session after every speakers deliver their presentation. And you can use the feature raise hand, and then I will permit you. When you, and then you can start asking. Or you can use the chat box as well to deliver your question. Participants are also expected to turn on your camera as the event goes on, if possible. Especially, we are going to have a group picture at the end of our event, so It would be great for you to turn on your camera so that we can share a good picture together. And we need you to stay focused during the webinar until the end. And this is the most important one, that all the presentations will be held in English. However, don't worry. I, as the facilitator, will help you to highlight some of the points from our speakers in Bahasa Indonesia. Jadi ini adalah peraturan webinar yang perlu dipahami dan ditaati oleh teman-teman sekalian ya. Dan tentunya seperti yang teman-teman sudah dapat tebak, kalau webinar ini akan dibawa dengan dua bahasa, yaitu bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Namun untuk materi webinar itu sepenuhnya dalam bahasa Inggris. Tapi saya akan membantu teman-teman lebih memahami materi nanti dengan menyampaikan kesimpulannya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Okay, so that's it for the rules. Next slide, please. Let us get to know our speakers. Of course, starting from our first speaker, Pranav Gupta. Okay, let me close in. Okay. Pranav has over 8 years of experience of success launches and programs development. He is skilled at forming alliances that have an impact and generate new business, and also holds degrees from prominent colleges in India in engineering, management, and liberal arts. His 5 years of employment in the development field were spent with Santa's Social Ventures, where he catalyzed the donation of over $5 million in charity and corporate social responsibility money to COVID-led and sanitation-focused programs. And at Musigma, he helped one of the biggest computer technology businesses make data-driven business decisions. He currently works as the Director of International Partnerships at Wysa, a global leader in conversational AI for mental health. In his role, he is responsible for B2B partnerships with employers, insurance, and public health institutions across the globe. He is determined to fight the global mental health crisis through a digital-first AI solution that is easily scalable, accessible, and affordable to all. I will make a summary in bahasa. Jadi Pranav ini punya segudang pengalaman dalam bidang teknologi dan beliau punya ketertarikan tinggi dalam isu sosial, utamanya tentang kesehatan masyarakat. Dengan perannya yang sekarang di Wysa sebagai Direktur Hubungan Internasional, Pranav bertekad untuk turut berkontribusi dalam pengembangan layanan kesehatan mental melalui inovasi artificial intelligence. Okay, next slide, please. Let us also get to know our second speaker. Okay, we have Dahildahil. So, he is a One Young World 2021 ambassador, alumni of Wysa engaged and having participated in their workshop in Bandung, Indonesia. He completed his master's degree in science in health informatics and his bachelor's degree in public health in the University of the Philippines. He started his public health career as a researcher with interest on neglected tropical diseases and digital technologies. In 2016, he co-founded #MentalHealthPH, an NGO that aims at promoting and protecting mental health in the Philippines through social media and digital technology. He is also a theater enthusiast, and he believes in the power of storytelling in making changes in the community. Now I will deliver the summary for our participants. Jadi, Roy ini memiliki latar belakang pendidikan di bidang teknik informatika untuk kesehatan dan bidang kesehatan masyarakat. Beliau memulai karirnya sebagai seorang peneliti kesehatan masyarakat dan memiliki minat dalam isu neglected tropical disease dan teknologi digital. Kemudian dengan bekal itu, beliau menjadi salah satu pendiri NGO #MentalHealthPH yang bertujuan untuk mempromosikan dan mendukung kesehatan mental di Filipina melalui media sosial dan teknologi digital. Okay, so now that you all got to know our speakers a little bit better, can I have some reactions from the audience Please show us your excitement for our speakers. Let's see what we have. Thank you. Okay. Now, I think we can continue to our next session. Next slide, please. Okay. So, without further ado, we will begin our first speaker session with Pranav. And I would like to notify you that for those who have questions or opinions during the presentation, feel free to express them in the chat box. Pranav, we would love to hear your story. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you so much, Patricia, for the lovely introduction, warm welcome. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak here at the webinar today. I'm also just going to share my screen. So do let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay, it's visible.
Yeah. So incidentally, in fact, I made my first visit to Indonesia very recently. It was when I was on a work trip to Singapore a few months back. I got the opportunity to go to Bintan Island. And I must say that it's lovely. And specifically the people of Indonesia, they're so sweet. So I just wanted to say that today. So the topic today that I'm going to talk about is going to be on how do we use artificial intelligence to make mental health accessible to all, right? So that's one endeavor that Wysa is on today. And essentially what we're doing is that we've built a chatbot which is able to deliver therapy, right? And it is able to reduce anxiety and depression symptoms in people, right? And we're able to do this at scale. So there are so many different parts to it, and I'll reconstruct that through my presentation today. And we started this journey in around 2017, and along the way, everybody knows 2020 was a big year. COVID happened. It brought mental health to the forefront, right? All of us felt in some way the need for better coping mechanisms, right? We struggled at home. We dealt with loneliness. There was isolation, and that was one year when in our journey, right? And you can see a list of awards that I've presented here that we've gotten on this journey. We also started realizing that we can help people by reaching them through B2B institutions. So whether it is working with employers or employee wellness, whether it is working with public health institutions and then making it accessible to many more people, or it is also working with insurance companies where mental health claims started going up. So how can we then support them to prevent the risk of people who are seeing severe mental health challenges? So along this journey, at Wysa, we've been, we've won the best app in Google Play on 2020, right? We won an award by the NHS in the UK. Recently we won the breakthrough device designation by FDA. What all of this means, I'll just spend some time explaining it to you. So if you look at the global mental health scenario today, right, there are many challenges that are present, right? The big ones are obviously there are demand supply gaps, which means that a lot of people are seeking support. They need therapy, right? But there are not enough qualified human professionals to deliver that at scale, right? So these are the challenges. So if you look at public health institutions, for example, like the National Health Service in the UK, people get waitlisted for support for up to 6 months. They're seeking therapy, they get waitlisted for 6 months. It's a very, very poor experience for people, right? That's challenge number one. The challenge number two is that there are many barriers to access mental health today, right? And if you divide the world into the West and the East, a big challenge in the West remains diagnosis, right? You need to get diagnosed before you can get access to mental health care. And the reason why it's also very much gated is because there is a shortage of human professionals. So not anybody can go and start seeking mental health care because there are not enough professionals. So they will ask you to first get diagnosed, right? So are you diagnosed with ADHD, with generalized anxiety disorder, something? But that's a barrier, right? The second big barrier in the East, it's a different problem that you're facing, right? The big barrier is stigma, right? Not all of us want to talk about it in our homes, in our families, right? It's a taboo today. Spouses can't share that with their partners. Similarly, with young adults with their mothers and their fathers and parents. So those challenges remain in this side of the world, right? The third big challenge is obviously affordability. We all know how expensive therapy is, right? Even getting one session, 1 hour of therapy is very high. And just imagine that in low resource settings in countries like India, Indonesia, all of these Southeast Asian countries, it becomes a big challenge, right, to access mental health because the price is very high. And the fourth big issue is that the delivery models are very fragmented. So what works in a particular geography is unlikely to work in another, right? So this very localized kind of need, and therefore, scalability is definitely then an issue. So all of these four big challenges that you see today is something that we are solving at Wysa using artificial intelligence. So the first most important thing of what we've done, right, in terms of solving these challenges is that building a scalable product, right? It's tech, it can be easily scaled to populations across the globe, right? But also making sure that it's clinically effective. That's the most important thing in a mental health setting, right? The idea is to then make barriers to mental health irrelevant. So whether it is stigma, make it irrelevant. People should not, need anything to access mental health. So that's what we're doing at Wysa. You don't need a diagnosis. Irrespective of stigma, you can access the mental health app. You can access it even via Google Play Store today, right? The second thing is that then you prove it with the researchers in the world that this works, that what model that you're delivering is actually able to show you reduction in anxiety, depression symptoms. That's the second thing that we're doing. And now today in our journey, we're at this third stage where we have already proven that this works, and we want to meet as many people as possible wherever they are in their journey. Everybody is at a different place, but meeting them where they are is very important. And that's the beauty of artificial intelligence, because it contextualizes and adapts to user context, right? So in this journey at Wysa, we have already, covered more than 5 million people. We've had more than 500 million conversations on the app. That actually makes the AI models a lot more robust, right? And people have rated it, user helpfulness scores. We've gotten more positive ratings of 90% plus. People have felt that they have been benefited. And we have this across 65 countries today with a very good rating on Play Store, App Store, so on and so forth, right? Now, if you look at the mental health spectrum overall, right, this is the data that we analyzed internally. We realized that typically any population, you take it, it could be an employer, it could be a student population in a university. Mostly 30% of any population falls in the wellness side of that side of things, right? So these are people who are generally well-to-do, right? They just need, more focus, more attention, sometimes better sleep. There's sometimes stress, so on and so forth. And then if you look at the extreme right-hand side of the spectrum, that's the illness side of spectrum, right? This is extremely severe cases, right? Major depression, suicidal tendencies. Only 10% of any population will be in this, right? Even that's a high bar, right? And they will need medicalization, medication, right? It's all crisis care, psychiatric support, all of that. But there's a large population in the middle, right? It's called the missing middle of mental health. Around 60% of any population lies here. These are people who are neither completely well-to-do, nor are they very ill that they need that kind of extreme support. And most of us lie in these 60%, right? Because there are days when we start feeling low. It's not like every day we are feeling low, but there will be some days that we will feel low. And we all know this happened during COVID, right? We were all in that place. We were feeling anxious about work. There was digital burnout. There was a lot of fatigue, just staying at home. All of those were issues, right? So how can we support the 60%? What is happening today is that in the market, there are products for wellness support. So if you think about sleep and meditation apps, you think of a headspace and calm. And then there is obviously support at the last 10% where there's psychiatric support or hospitals and so on and so forth. But in the middle, there's really nothing, right? And that's what we're trying to solve, give access to everybody and meet them where they are, right? So what is the Wysa offering? How is Wysa able to do that? There are three layers to the Wysa offering, right? So we have Wysa Digital, which is the AI digital companion, which is the chatbot, like I spoke about, right? It actually feels like you're talking to a friend or a therapist, and it's basically talking to artificial intelligence, right? Um, and then we have built a self-care library. So there are tools that are already on the platform, again, built by clinicians internally, but you can self-select, right? So there will be a tool pack for how to sleep better, how to manage a relationship, how to manage your self-esteem, anything that you're feeling under the sun. But if you have a little bit of self-awareness of what you're going through, you can self-select and make yourself feel better, right? And the third thing that we have done is added the human layer. For those who are not getting enough benefit from AI, still have the option to talk to a therapist or a coach, right? So it just completes the journey, right? It's a step care model. You can see that people come in, they open up to the AI, they start talking. A lot of them feel better just by doing that. And our AI actually delivers CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Which a lot of therapists also do today. So just to give you a quick idea about what the chatbot looks like, it'll just have a, free text conversation. It'll ask you, how are you feeling? How's your day? And you can just start typing to it. It'll detect your emotion. And based on that, it'll take you on a journey. It's a very guided conversation, and it will help you reframe your thoughts, right? So sometimes you're stuck in a negative thought. We're stuck in that loop, but often we need to think outside it, and it will help you guide you to get there. So the whole idea about, say, cognitive behavioral therapy is that how we feel is governed by how we think, right? So if you change how you think, you will feel differently. So that's what we are able to do very effectively via the chatbot. It happens within 10 minutes, of just conversing with it. It sometimes takes much longer in a human therapy session also, right? Um, the second thing is the self-care library that I already spoke about. So these are the kind of tool packs that you can see. You can self-select, and you can feel better. Now, there are different types of exercises, right? There are meditations, there are visualization techniques, there are affirmations. There are, some of those will take you back to the chatbot. So all of these, when you go through it, you feel better, right? That's the idea. And then the third layer is, the sessions that you can take with a personal therapist. And these sessions could be in different modalities, video, audio, and a 45-minute session, an hour-long session, so on and so forth. So when we build this product, what have we learned from it? Or what have we learned from this journey? I think that's very important. So I just wanted to bring that to all of you, right? What we've realized is that anonymity is a key factor to overcome stigma. And that's specifically important for a population like ours, right? And Wysa is completely anonymous, right? You never ask for any personally identifiable information. You're not asked to log in, to link it to your email ID. And that's a big differentiator, right? All other apps you will see will ask you for that in the beginning. So we don't ask for anything like that, right? You can just choose a nickname, you can start talking to it, and people feel empowered, right? Because they know that, they're not being monitored. They don't feel judged. They're easy to, start talking. And then AI chat, very counterintuitive, because people will feel like, why would people talk to an AI? But actually, it's the other way around, because there's no human on the other side. People can be vulnerable very easily, right? They shed their inhibitions, they start talking to it. That's what we have learned. The second thing is that obviously the capability to generate analytics at a population level or any institution is very important, right? We are able to show them key stressors, right? What are the emotional metrics that most people are going through in the population? What kind of support are they asking for? What do they need? And that's very important today because, to get the emotional pulse of the organization, to understand where you're going wrong, to course correct, that becomes a very important aspect. So we give them very powerful analytics. It's all at a population level because, the user is anonymous. So it's not at a user level. Right. The third thing is that Wysa can be deployed not only in wellness situations, and we started as a wellness solution primarily, right? Where I was talking about the sleep, meditation, those kind of things initially. But we've also gone in and now we are working with patient populations in clinical settings. And we're able to do a lot of work there. And we've realized like there's a strong link of mental health with physical health, right? So if you look at, say, somebody who's dealing with chronic pain, somebody who's dealing with diabetes, right, who are managing their lives on a day-to-day basis, there's a big mental health component associated with it. So can we help them recover quicker? Can we help them, deal with their life better? That those are the things that we are now also focusing on. So not only wellness, but also becoming a clinical solution, becoming a digital therapeutic solution over time. That's the journey. And we've also realized that language trans adaptation is possible, with investment and time. Wysa was built in English. We're primarily an English speaking app. We released a version in Spanish because in the US, there was a large Spanish speaking population. And now we're building it in Hindi for the Indian population, taking it to the next billion. And sooner or later, we just want to bring it in the Southeast Asian languages, right? We're realizing that if we can do that, we can really reach, the people, local people, and it can sort of help us, reach our goal of affordability, accessibility as a company. And then the last learning is that, when we bring it on platforms like WhatsApp, right, we can again increase reach tremendously. And what we are realizing is that, when we know that our solution works, we don't want to restrict it to a modality of just app, right? Because that's just one modality. People have a lot of app fatigue also today. A lot of people have so many apps on their phones. So we want to be able to reach people in the best way possible. It could be via web, it could be via, WhatsApp. So that's something that we're building. We're building that with WhatsApp in India, and then we'll bring it to the other Southeast Asian countries, right? So those are some of the learnings. Just to give you a sense, this is what the analytics dashboard looks like. We are actually able to give them data about how many users are using Wysa, how much time are they spending with it, are they coming back to Wysa, what are the different cohorts, what are the different emotions that they're talking about on the app, right? How are they feeling, stuff like that. And this actually is very important because, for example, in a particular institution during COVID, we saw that health anxiety went up considerably. So then we started doing webinars and work there on health anxiety, right? Similarly, clinical programs that I spoke about, these programs are a lot more structured. We've built a lot of structure. It's an 8 to 12-week program where if people are going through a specific condition, then they can, go through that journey in a very structured program where there are daily check-ins at a certain time that the user can set for themselves and then go through these exercises and then feel better over a period of 8 to 12 weeks. That's something that we have designed, and this works as a clinical program. And the stuff that I spoke about with WhatsApp, bringing it on WhatsApp, making sure there's a big gap in terms of awareness, right? Because there's so much stigma, we need to, create a lot of awareness in our countries, and therefore social behavior change communication becomes very important. So how can we do a lot of that, and then bring it to local languages as I spoke, and then bring it through via public health, make it accessible to more people, fund it via public health, stuff like that. So that's the journey that we are on with WhatsApp, and we want to bring it soon to Southeast Asian countries and Indonesia also. So just very quickly giving you a quick idea on what we're doing in terms of case studies, right? Just to show how it works. So when you look at the NHS, which is the National Health Service in UK, what the challenge I spoke about is people get waitlisted for 6 months. It's a terrible experience for the patient today, right? So what we have done is that Wysa comes in as the front door solution, right? We're also able to make sure to let people go to the resource where which they need, right? So today, for example, I am seeking for therapy, but I may not need therapy, right? Because my issues may be subclinical, they're just mild anxiety, depression. So I don't need therapy. So why am I burdening the entire system with seeking for therapy, right? So what we're doing is we have built that effective mechanism where people can then, come in, they can, self-refer themselves, they can fill in a questionnaire, we can understand where they lie in the mental health spectrum. And based on that, we can suggest what the best course is for them going forward. So they can either get, say, Wysa self-help resources, they can get therapy, or they can go somewhere else based on what they need. this will also make the system more efficient. It will also make the burden of the system, it will reduce the burden of the system. So that's the kind of work that we're doing in a public health setup, right? And we are also working with the Ministry of Health and Transformation in Singapore, and we are offering this to all citizens of Singapore. And this again started during COVID when there was a need to help the citizens. And then we integrated with their online platform called Mindline. And there we sort of offered the self-help tools and the AI chatbot via that platform, right? So we've already helped more than 60, 70,000 people in Singapore doing this. And the idea is to scale this further, right? And they're finding benefit. A lot of users are coming and telling us that it's useful. And when they don't have anybody to talk to, they can start talking to the AI, right? We often call the artificial intelligence the 4 a.m. friend, right? At night, when you're not able to sleep at 4 a.m., you can't call a friend. And at that time, you quickly open Wysa, you start talking to it, you feel heard, you feel validated, you feel better. That's the endeavor, right? That's the goal going forward. So just we're working with, as I said, employers, public health institutions, a lot of research partners today. But the overall goal remains to make mental health more affordable and accessible to people, right? We want to reach 50 million people by 2025. That's the goal that we've set as an organization, right? And today we have around 10 million lives that we've been able to cover, but with bringing it on WhatsApp, bringing it in Hindi, we want to again increase that by a considerable degree in India, and then work with the Singapore government also to bring it in other languages in Asia and bring it to population like yours, and help everybody that we can in these regions, right? That's the idea. Also supporting college students and adolescents, and I think the need is very high in the youth group. I think if we catch this early, any detection of early symptoms, and they don't become severe, right? That's the main idea also, that you help people early on so that it doesn't become a severe mental health challenge later on in your life. So a lot of these things, if we administer at the time when students are like in colleges, etc., then it becomes a good way of self-care, well-being. That's something that everybody sort of understands, and then they're able to manage and maintain their mental health and focus on it, because it's an important part of all of our lives, right? So we all have to do that, and if we can do that early on, then that's the endeavor that we're trying to do through the work that we're doing with institutions like colleges and universities. So that's all I wanted to speak about. I wanted to actually take this time to just tell you the possibility, right? Show you the possibility of how artificial intelligence can be used to actually cope and work on all the challenges in global mental health today. And that is something that we are also doing at Wysa, right? I'm very happy to take questions, answers to on this topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, Pranav. That was insightful. Now, I would like to deliver some of the highlights from your presentation in Bahasa Indonesia for our audience. Okay?
Yeah.
Ya, jadi teman-teman, inti utama dari pembicaraan Pak Pranav ini adalah gimana memanfaatkan AI dalam menciptakan sebuah produk yang menjawab kebutuhan layanan kesehatan mental. Jadi ada 4 masalah kesehatan mental yang disebutkan, yang soal rendahnya tenaga profesional, adanya barrier tentang stigma, kemudian adanya keterbatasan aksesibilitas, apakah itu karena biaya atau karena berada di area yang belum berkembang begitu, jadi akses ke layanan kesehatan itu sendiri juga memang sulit. Makanya lewat AI ini tercipta sebuah produk aplikasi yang bisa mewadahi itu semua tadi. Jadi aplikasi ini bisa dipakai jadi buat teman untuk bercerita, atau ada di dalamnya juga ada beberapa tools, ada beberapa kursus begitu alat untuk latihan gimana sih mempraktekkan self-care, mempraktekkan gimana kita merawat diri dengan dapat tidur yang cukup, atau hal-hal yang berbau psikologis seperti tadi ada praktik CBT, di mana mengendalikan overthinking yang biasa dialami oleh teman-teman, kalau merasa motivasi lagi turun, dan sebagainya. Seperti itu. Dan rencana masa depannya dengan Wysa itu mau diintegrasikan dengan aplikasi WhatsApp dengan tujuan utamanya itu tadi, untuk memperluas jangkauan orang-orang untuk mereka semua bisa mempraktikkan cara-cara menjaga kesehatan mental. Okay, I think, yeah, I tried. Okay, I already delivered some of the highlights, and let me check in the chat box if we have any question. Okay, we have one. So this is from Aulia Anissa. She would like to ask. So she had never gone to psychology, but she felt herself that she probably had a mental illness, but people keep saying not to self-diagnose yourself. So how can Aulia know what's wrong with her, and what kind of good therapy or solution so that she can enjoy her life without going to a professional?
So it's not wrong, first of all, to go to a professional, right? I think that's also something very important to know. And if you feel the need, definitely you can, access therapy. And these are channels like Wysa, etc. And there might be others, obviously, right, in Indonesia, that you can get access to therapists, right? And if you are obviously, above 18, then you probably don't need parental consent and stuff like that. So just be mindful of that. If you are below 18, then you may want to include your parents in this conversation. It could be, it's important for us to break that taboo at home also. And I think if it's something, if you feel that there is something major, then you should definitely go to a therapist. If it's a normal, a better, healthier self-care routine that you want to build, then you can use any of the self-care tools and apps. There's so many these days that can help you, say meditate and, take care of your physical health, nutrition. There's so many components, right? I think everything is so interlinked to mental health. So you can read about these topics. There are a lot of, blogs and journals out there that actually tell you what is a good self-care routine, right? There's a routine before sleep, a routine for gratitude exercises, before when you wake up and you sleep. So there are many of these things that can help you. Everything works, different things work for different people, right? But I would suggest that you can definitely explore those avenues. But if it's something that you think is important and major, then definitely have a conversation about it or reach out to a therapist who can then, it doesn't have to be about diagnosis, but it's about somebody who's qualified professionally to be able to help you in the right direction, right? And our friends or our parents may not know what is the best thing in that situation. So, yeah.
Okay. I hope you can catch that for Auli Aunisa. Okay, let's see. We have another. I think we can start from Uttari's question about how can AI bridge cultural differences in providing mental health services for a larger mass?
That's a very good question. And it also comes to us often. So what we are realizing, in fact, and because we're building a product that is global, right, is that beyond the point, human beings experience very, very similar things, right? Our emotions are the same, right? If there's a breakup with our partners, we are going to feel, sad. It's a natural thing, right? Whether you're in the US, UK, or you're in Indonesia, the same thing is going to happen. If you have a fight with your mother, you're going to feel bad, right? So those kind of things. So when you look at the basic emotions, a lot of this also actually works very well because of that reason, right? That is why the same product has worked considerably well in across different geographies with at least an English speaking audience. Now, the nuances that we need to think about are definitely language. Language is one aspect where people who are not English speaking, then how do we, bring it to them? The second thing is that there are some colloquialisms or there's some small context in how a certain language is spoken. Even how English is spoken in Indonesia or India is going to be different from how it is spoken in US, Australia, etc. So what we try to do is we try to bring some of those context in from how people type, how people write the same kind of phrases, so that we don't miss out on anything, right? That's the kind of work that we're doing. But beyond that, I think, like I said, bringing it in different languages is important. What we are able to do is we are able to understand that there are some parts of what we've built that can be replicated more easily. So not all of the AI needs to be, for example, free text based, where you're having a full conversation, because it becomes very difficult to build that, right? But if you can build it in a way that it actually administers the right thing, or it can give you options, for example, in a particular conversation, which direction to go in. And then, it's more coded, it's easier to replicate it and it's quicker. So
Mm.
that's what we're trying to do when we're trying to bring it in Hindi and in other languages. That's our endeavor. So yeah.
Okay, so that's the answer for you, Tari. And we have the third. I think this could be the last question for today. So I think the main point of Asa's question here is how can technological advances, this is the same thing that affect someone's mental health. But I mean, I think she's trying to say that the technological advances can bring detrimental effects. So how can the same technology can also be used to improve someone's mental health?
That's also a very good question. So I think there are aspects of technology that are not helpful, right? For example, we all know about social media, ill effects. They are also very addictive. For example, right? It could be even Netflix, right?
Mhm.
Binge watching. All of these can have adverse effects on your mental health. So recognizing that we need to be in control of how we use technology is very important, and therefore get guidelines to youth on how to use technology, how to get into it are very important aspects of, I think, schooling today in universities. And at what age should you get access to mobile phones and even social media accounts? All of those things become important. Um, the other thing is that yes, there is some digital fatigue overall, but I think the advantages of artificial intelligence, or the advantages of these far outweigh, because everybody is going to be anyway on their phones, right? It's the easiest way to reach them today. So we
Yeah,
do
that's
that, and yeah, and I think the main important thing is that we do it with the permission of the user, and we do it at a time when the user is available, right? So that's something that we also try to do. So they can choose to work with, say, Wysa for 5 minutes or 10 minutes in a day, but it's at a time that suits them, that they're available and they want to prioritize their mental health during that time. So we need to maintain that sort of balance, basically.
yeah, it is. Okay, so that concludes for our Q&A session for today. Once again, thank you so much, Pranav, for your presentation and your time. Okay,
Thank you so much for calling me here, and
okay,
it was lovely interacting with everybody.
okay. Now we can move on to our second speaker. Okay, Roy, are you here?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I cannot see your face yet. Okay, here you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually excited to share our story and also learning from the experiences from Wysa. I'm also learning a lot today.
Wow, Oh, okay, that's very great to hear. So, if you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Okay. Let me just borrow the share screen function. Okay.
It
Just
works.
just checking. Okay, it's working. All right. Hi everyone. I am Dahildahil. I'm from the Philippines, and I'm one of the co-founders and executive director of hashtag Mental Health PH. So right now, what I'm going to share to you are our story in Mental Health PH on how we started an advocacy um, back in 2016, where mental health is not yet being talked about as much in our country, in the Philippines. I'm also going to share our framework. We call it the 3S and 3Os, 3S framework and 3Os approach. And hopefully this could guide you, advocates, emerging leaders for promotion mental health. This could guide you in how you want to form the organization or putting up your own advocacy group, right? So again, I'm Roy Dahildahil. I'm a graduate of Health Informatics and BS Public Health in University of the Philippines, Manila. So right now, what I'm going to talk about is how we started the organization, where we are now currently, and after 6 years of experience doing advocacy in the Philippines, and what do we plan to do next? And then maybe I can also share, or you can also learn from our experience, like 3 key takeaways I want to share to everyone that could hopefully guide you, or could serve as guidance for you in when you want to start mental PH.
One of the co-founders of hashtag Mental Health PH. She suffers from bipolar 2 disorder. And just like Lawrence, any Filipino youth may feel vulnerable to mental ill health as a consequence of this pandemic. COVID-19 may have drastically changed this world, but our conversations on mental health should never stop here. We, in Mental Health PH, believe that everyone deserves to be seen, to be heard, and feel supported. Thus, we launched hashtag Usap Tayo. Since its launch, we already engaged over 3,000 youth members, translating to more than 88 million impressions. The most discussed topics in our tweet chat include LGBTQIA mental health and our COVID-19 frontliners' mental health. As you may see, hashtag Usap Tayo is just one of the many ways to build safer digital spaces for our Filipino youth. Let's inspire online feeds to on-ground actions. Every 40 seconds, someone dies of suicide, but let's take 40 more seconds to change that narrative. Ikaw, ako, tayo. Tayo ang pagbabago para sa lusog isip ng bawat Pilipino. For a mentally healthier community.
So, Usap Tayo is one of our longest running advocacy or campaign in the Philippines, where we maximize and use social media as a tool to raise awareness and make normalize the conversations on mental health. But before I go into the details of what we are doing in Mental Health PH, let me just share to you our very core story, how and why we started Mental Health PH. So I'd like you to meet Lawrence. So she's one of our co-founders. And then I met her in 2016. She has bipolar 2 disorder. And during that time, Lawrence had struggle accessing mental health services. Like the prices for mental health, professional help in the Philippines is very, very high. It costs around 2,000 pesos. So that's around, I think, $40. And during that time, the Philippines, we still don't have any mental health law or any policies that protects mental health of Filipinos. And then also during that time, mental health topic is not that famous, or it's not being talked about. A lot of topics are being talked about regarding calling out culture, on trending social media trends, TikTok, etc. But none of those topics talk about mental health. So during that time, we thought of an idea that why not utilize social media to talk about something that is prevalent but neglected public health concern. So we started Mental Health PH. So through social media, we made those conversations running online and make it as regular. Because in Mental Health PH, we believe that mental health is a fundamental human right. So we believe that everyone deserves to be seen, heard, empowered, and supported. That story of Lawrence, um, although she may be just one individual in that community, we know that if we spread it to all over the Philippines or globally, we know there are a lot of people like Lawrence experiencing those challenges in terms of access, in terms of protection, in terms of support with their mental health. So that's why we started the organization. Especially during the COVID pandemic, a lot of cases in terms of accessing professional support for anxiety, for depression, and for other suicidal ideations peaked during that start of the pandemic last 2020. Around March, if you notice in the graph, our government crisis hotline, they have increased in the number of calls, and most of the calls are related to anxiety, are related to suicidal ideations, and some people experience depression because of isolation, because of lack of support and access to their medications. You can see here the graph really increased. And if you notice during during the pandemic, everyone is very challenged to access their mental health support physically. So it was somehow an entry point for us to really advocate for mental health and maximize what tools they have on their hand at their fingertips. And one of those are their cell phones and their laptops. So we maximized those things and made use of social media and other digital technologies to make this services and information relatable and accessible to them. So in Mental PH, we believe, or our goal is to champion and build a mentally healthy communities by inspiring and investing into awareness of mental health among the public, empowerment of its members towards support, and collaborating among different sectors for sustainable solutions. We have three key objectives in the organization. We want everyone to feel supported, the level of self, by ensuring that everyone feels supported to help themselves, especially for their mental health. And then support for society, normalizing conversations about mental health, and support for system by collaborating with different sectors, emphasizing mental health, that mental health is everybody's business. We started in 2016, and we have three major objectives, and we sort of are experts not experts, but we've been in this industry promoting and protecting mental health in the Philippines through the use of social media and digital technologies. So some of our contents, for example, we as simple as Facebook. So we use or leverage Facebook because in the Philippines, in the Philippines, we have a very high penetration rate of Facebook and Twitter. So we maximize those things as a platform where we can reach more people in terms of content on mental health. So back in 2020, during the start of the COVID pandemic, since everyone is feeling isolated, they can't access any kinds of forum or any seminars. We translated it to online and produce a lot of digital contents, infographics, and stories of people and motivational posts on mental health. We have also developed a menu-based mental health chatbot in order for us to link those people who are messaging us in our social media pages to the appropriate facilities or professional help. So currently, our Facebook have already reached around 100,000 followers and reaching around 20,000 volunteers in our Facebook group. And it was a low-cost kind of activity because social media is free and very accessible. Just needs effort and volunteers in order for you to launch campaigns and release activities. And then the video that I shared, this is one of the activities that we really, has been long-running activities. So it's called #Usap Tayo, or in English, it's Let's Talk. So what we do is through the Twitter platform, we normalize conversations about mental health. So we made it as regular as possible by making it, by committing to an event every 10, 20s, and 30s of the month. Or these are the months ending with 0, to remind everyone that our advocacy aims to zero the stigma, zero the suicide cases, and zero the violence against people with mental illnesses. It happens every 7 to 8 p.m. On our social media platform, which is for this one, it's our Twitter account. And then we also develop a mental health directory where people can access or can look for mental health support. It was amazing. Just want to share that it was an amazing realization for us that after series of awareness building on people, there is still one dilemma after raising awareness on mental health. It's the access to the support. So we were very good in terms of raising the awareness, but then the question that we received next is, now that I am aware or I know that I need to take care of my mental health, where can I access support? So it was a learning thing for the organization, and that's why we made an effort to invest on creating a directory where we can link those people to the necessary facilities that are around in the Philippines. So it's quite important that if we want to build our own awareness campaign organizations, we must make sure that we are not only giving them awareness, but we are also linking them to appropriate support, and that we have that in store for us, so that there's just a continued service from information dissemination to awareness building to change in behavior to seeking professional help. And then also we conducted several on-ground activities. Prior to pandemic, we made effort to go to schools as far as far north and far south schools. We did entered workplaces and did some speaking engagement in different companies. But one most interesting campaign that we did is doing this on-ground activities on less intimidating places, so such as coffee shop. So one of our campaigns, we partnered with Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. It's a coffee shop famous in the Philippines, where we made like impromptu talk during inside the coffee shop. And what we realized during that experience is that it's more safe and it's more engaging if people are invited to come in a safe space and then just talk quite informally about mental health and still learn new things on it, but in a structured and a more meaningful way. We believe that in order for us to really talk about mental health, or for people to receive mental health that well, we need to sort of establish a certain psychological safety that we were able to do if we do it on a less intimidating talks. So this is an invitation to future advocates to also explore different places or different ways and approaches where you can introduce mental health in a not so hard sell, on a not so intimidating kind of places or areas. Yeah. So that's one of our most effective campaign, doing it in a coffee shop. And then lastly is onwards. So onwards, we made sure that we are aware, or we recognize that doing mental health advocacy all over the country, it's not something that we can do alone. So we made sure that we have established not only local partners like our National Center for Mental Health, different organizations, mental health organizations in the Philippines, but we also made sure to tap on global partners. So currently, Mental Health PH sits in the Twitter Trust and Safety Council to make sure that Twitter is a safe space, and then contributing also to the new policies that they have, ensuring healthy online space for Twitter. We are also part of the Mental Health Innovation Network, and we were the country lead convener for United for Global Mental Health. So we made sure that our advocacy, even if we are already done, it's already established, and we recognize that we cannot do it alone. So we have to make sure there's collaboration in place. So the past 6 years, we've been invited to different offices in the Philippines where we can contribute and share our experiences working in this advocacy to the government and to other professional organizations. So this has been one of our country planning, where we invited different organizations, stakeholders to work on advocacy in the Philippines and make sure that we are working hand in hand and not individually when we are doing this advocacy. So we released, after that country planning, we released a manifesto for a commitment where all of these organizations, regardless of their focus and regardless of their forte, can work together in order to push forward for a mentally healthy community. Just to share some of the impacts in 2020, our social media presence have reached almost 990,000 members every month, and on our Facebook alone, we reach 1.8 million. impressions, reaching different kinds of audience. And through our Usap Tayo campaign, which is happening on Twitter, it almost always reach around 51 million impressions. So that's a great that's already a huge number, not only in the Philippines but also Filipinos residing abroad, because it's in social media. You can access it anywhere. You don't need to travel, and they know when it will happen, which is on the 10, 20s, and 30s of the month. So we did some quick study on last 2020 just to compare if through our campaigns we have improved the lives of our audience. And during that report, they were able to say that 55% of those being people interviewed had increased and felt very supported with with the kind of campaigns that we do in the organization. So we also received some comments from people that before I only used to search for information myself, but with Mental Health PH, we're able to gather information about mental health that is no longer a struggle for me because of the website that is made readily available. So those are some of our campaigns, but I think what I want to really impart during this just talk is that when we did all of these campaigns, it might be all over the place, but it's actually structured in using this 3S framework. So our 3S framework suggests that when we want to advocate for mental health, we should focus on 3 levels: the self, the society, and the system. So when we talk about mental health, we identify in the level of self what are the behaviors that we can improve, what are the knowledge gaps and attitudes and practices of the individual that we can improve and address, and try to educate them on that aspect to improve their knowledge, attitudes, and practices. But we should not only focus on that aspect. So when we want to advocate, we want to talk about awareness, let's not only focus on the individual. We also have to expand it on the level of society. So when we say society, you also have to consider or to ask yourselves as advocates, what are the existing culture, norms, and unhealthy practices that are being normalized in my community. So if you are, for example, an advocate working in schools, are there existing culture or norms that is no longer healthy or not enabling for someone to take care of their mental health? If you're working in the workplace, are there like culture of burnout, productivity, toxic culture in the workplace, or bullying in the workplace that needs to be unpacked and needs to be addressed? Then maybe we should also advocate for that one. We
Okay,
recognize.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah, you have 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost done with my slides. Yeah. So, and then on the level of system, we have to make sure that other than culture and education and the individual, we have to make sure that there are policies in place. So when we advocate for mental health, we had to make sure that all of these 3 things are being considered. Because if you do it only on the individual level or the culture level or the policy level, it might not as holistic as it should have been. So in the organization, we follow this framework, self-society and system, and we maximize digital technology, complement it with on-ground solutions and partnerships through collaborations. Then just few key lessons that you might want to take learning from our experiences in the Philippines are 3 things. So inclusion, innovation, and collaboration. So for inclusion, we made sure that most of that all of our campaigns are human rights based, and we made sure that there's involvement of service users. So we all know some of us come from professional field, but we had to make sure that persons with lived experience also have a share in the decision making. So we have to make sure that they are there, they are well represented, and we have to think always who are not in this table, then maybe we should invite them. And then innovation. Innovation does not necessarily mean like new things, developing new things, or like inventing new things. Sometimes innovation also means old solutions using to a new problem. So you are translating old solution to new problem that is also effective for that problem. So you have to innovate, explore what are the existing, and try to apply that. And then different practices, not only professional or mental health, but also different practices like engineering, artificial intelligence, etc. And then lastly, collaboration. Doing mental health advocacy, it is a very big problem. It's a very, very big thing that to do, and we cannot do this alone. We have to recognize that we need all sectors involved, not only in the professional field of mental health, but also other sectors like theater arts, like the government and non-government organization. Those are the three things that I want to leave. And just a final note, doing mental health advocacy, it's a long commitment. And there are times that you might feel disempowered, that you might feel um, tired and burned out. As early as now, I invite you to know and look for your why you are doing this. This is something that also helped our organization. Knowing our why and focusing on why we want to do it really helped us and propelled us to do the right thing and do it the right way. And with that, if you want to collaborate with Mental PH and explore areas for to work together, you can contact us at Mental PH or visit our website mentalph.org. Right? And that is all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Roy. That was inspiring. Now, I would like to deliver some of the highlights from your presentation in Bahasa Indonesia for our audience. Okay? Jadi, teman-teman, inti pembahasan dari Roy tadi tentang komunitas yang dibangunnya, yaitu hashtag mental health PH, itu bermula dari timing di masa pandemi ketika isu-isu kesehatan mental itu mulai tampak dan terasa akibatnya. Dan dari situ Roy dan teman-temannya membangun hashtag mental health PH untuk menyuarakan pentingnya menyadari kesehatan mental. Dan strategi-strategi yang sudah dilakukan itu memanfaatkan media sosial, memposting konten-konten seperti infografi tentang kesehatan mental, konten tentang kesehatan mental, postingan yang memotivasi, atau ada juga membuat web yang di dalamnya ada kontak-kontak informasi yang memungkinkan teman-teman di Filipina itu bisa mengakses layanan kesehatan mental. Adapun juga strateginya yaitu menjalankan psikoedukasi di sekolah atau di kafe atau bahkan di kantor supaya pembicaraan tentang kesehatan mental ini menjadi lebih normal, lebih terasa normal bagi teman-teman di Filipina. Dan tadi itu ya, buat teman-teman yang ingin termotivasi untuk membangun juga komunitas kesehatan mental, ingin bergerak di bidang kesehatan mental, itu pahami apa yang mendorong kalian, know your why. Mungkin tadi kalau versinya hashtag mental health PH itu tadi framework 3S dan 3O-nya, tapi itu versinya hashtag mental PH. Mungkin yang teman-teman bisa terinspirasi juga punya framework lain begitu. Okay, I finished delivering the points, and let's check the chat box if we have some questions. Okay, we have two already from Aulia. She would like to ask, how about when parents didn't support our daily activities and misunderstand about mental health? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, what is your opinion on this, Roy?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And if I may share, that's also the same problem that we have in the Philippines, because most of our initiatives are focused on the youth. But when we go back with our families, some their mothers, their parents, they don't have the same understanding as the youth. So what we always tell our volunteers and advocates is that to be very patient with our parents and look at it in a perspective of the 3S framework. So maybe our parents come in a society or in a time and place where mental health is not yet being talked about as much. So they belong to a different generation where they don't believe that mental health is as important. So as advocates, we also have to make effort in educating as patiently and as kind as possible our families and then invite them in to conversations. Oftentimes when our advocates do that, their parents see the passion and the commitment of their kids and their youth, and somehow it opens some doors and opportunities for them to also ask themselves, the parents to ask themselves, what is mental health and what is it about that that I need to change to unlearn. So just be patient in educating um your parents. Like they are only misinformed, and it's our role also to educate them.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. I hope that answers you, Oleonisa. We have question from Fine. How can social media provide education and awareness about mental illness, but not leading people to self-diagnose?
Yes,
And I
that's
think this
very
is a challenge.
yeah, that's very true, and that's very challenging. When I remember when we started mental health PH, that's the line that we made clear when we did our communications, or we do our infographics. We emphasize that this information is not meant for self-diagnosis. This is meant for you to reflect on what you are feeling, and to invite you, if you feel that you need, or if you think that you need to seek professional help, you can proceed this. You can visit this directory. So even if there are other content creators that does that and like preach about mental illnesses, or this is the definition of the depression, it is our role as advocates to create clear messages that states, or that draws that line, that this information are all just for awareness and an invitation for you to explore seeking professional help, for you to really know more about what you are feeling. So I hope you can start that trend also on TikTok to change that kind of culture where we are all most people are preachy and self-diagnosing themselves because of those contents. Yeah.
So it's always better to explicitly state that this is
Mhm.
not for self-diagnosed measures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you
Okay.
have
I
other
hope.
ways, other content that you can produce that is not self-diagnosing. So you just
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be clear on it.
Okay. I hope that answers your question. Fine. Okay. Now we have this question, and I think this would be the last question for our
Mm.
Q&A.
Yeah.
In mental health PH, as it is a community, how can you encourage the community members to contribute maximally, optimally? Because usually in a community, social community like mental health based, it's usually voluntary, so there's no
Yeah.
reward. Yeah, there's no salary. So how do you maintain the human resources you have? That's the question.
Yeah, that's true. It's not impossible, and I hope you find hope in knowing that Mental Health PH has been running for the past 6 years, and we are all volunteer members. Even I myself, I'm not an employee of Mental Health PH. We are all volunteer members. Looking back, I think what helped us continue working on this is the genuineness of our leaders, on our advocates, to really work on this because they want to help other people. Going back to my last slide, knowing your why, it's important that you root yourself to knowing your why, because that's something that you cannot fake when you invite and encourage other volunteers. They would see if you are very genuine, and if you are very passionate about it, and if and as a leader, that is something that you can inspire, that even if there are no extrinsic or monetary rewards, they are still driven and passionate because they know, they see your vision, and they believe in your vision. So that's one. And then second is the importance of good working environment. So in the organization, even if we are all voluntary, we made sure that we practice what we preach inside the organization. We made sure that our workplaces is healthy, that we are all taking care of ourselves, and that they feel safe whenever they are here. And I think that is what's driving them also to continue, because they know that when they work with us, they feel safe. It's a kind environment, and it's an enabling environment for me to not only help myself, but help other people as well.
Okay, so that's the explanation for this question. Okay, so as I said, that was the last question that we will have. honestly, it feels bad for me to end this here while we have limited time. So again, thank you so much for the participants for your active listening, that you are engaged enough to contribute questions about the topics. And for Roy, thank you again so much for the sharing. That was an exciting session. Okay, now that we have listened well to both our speakers today, I hope that we all learned something and we feel motivated to do something better for Indonesia's mental health. Now, to crystallize this moment together, let's have a group picture. Okay, can the committee help me out with this one? Maybe we can turn off the share screen so that we can get every participants in one screen together. For the committee in Qatari, can you help to counting 1, 2, 3 before you take a picture?
Okay, so is everyone ready?
Okay.
There will be three pages for the gallery. So there'll be three. I'm going to screen capture 3 times. Okay, so prepare your smile. Count down.
Give us your best smile, everyone.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the other slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one. 1, 2, 3. All right. That's it, Kak.
Okay, thank you so much, Atari. Everyone, can I have your reaction for our speakers today for their insightful and exciting presentation? Okay, thank you so much for that. Now, that will conclude our time together with Pranav and Roy. I really hope that you two had a great time with us. And we love to collaborate with you again. And for now, we wish you the best and success in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Alright. Nah, jadi halo teman-teman semua, gimana rasanya tadi menghadiri webinar dengan speaker-speaker kita tadi? Sebelum kita bubar, saya akan menyampaikan beberapa pengumuman tambahan terkait kegiatan-kegiatan bertajuk kesehatan mental yang menarik lainnya. Jadi yang pertama kita punya info event dari Halo Jiwa Indonesia dengan bekerja sama dengan campaign community. Ini panggilan untuk teman-teman yang berada di wilayah Indonesia Timur. Teman-teman boleh follow WMHD 2022 campaign atau follow Halo Jiwa Indonesia. Ini campaign untuk meningkatkan kesadaran terhadap kesehatan mental di Indonesia Timur dengan moto Torang dari Timur, Torang bisa sadar sehat jiwa bersama Halo Jiwa. Next. Nah, info event yang berikutnya dari Sehat Jiwa, coming soon bakal ada kegiatan Sehat Jiwa Youth Camp 2022. Info lebih lanjutnya akan dibagikan di chat, jadi teman-teman yang tertarik boleh follow akun Instagramnya Sehat Jiwa untuk informasi lebih lanjut. Next. Yang ini ada lagi info event ini kalau nggak salah luring ya, sifatnya luring. Jadi teman-teman yang berada di wilayah lokasinya di Unika Atmajaya Semanggi. Jadi teman-teman yang ada di wilayah situ boleh banget kalau mau join Mental Health Festival World Mental Health Day 2022 Alivio Anteng Stress 101. Ini adalah kegiatan yang diadakan oleh Tabula pada tanggal 22 Oktober nanti di Unika Atmajaya Semanggi. Link pendaftarannya udah ada. Jadi teman-teman boleh cek juga di kolom chat untuk detail lebih lanjutnya. Oke, next. Nah, ini yang terakhir. Jadi teman-teman tadi kan udah ikut hadir webinar ini, terima kasih banyak. Nah, kami mau minta feedback dari teman-teman melalui link yang akan dibagikan di grup chat. Silakan bagikan umpan balik teman-teman terkait jalannya webinar tadi, biar kita bisa mengadakan lagi kegiatan menarik ke depannya. Oke, itu saja. Terima kasih teman-teman atas partisipasinya. Saya Patricia, mohon undur diri. Informasi lebih lanjut juga akan dibagikan di grup peserta masing-masing. Jadi teman-teman jangan live dulu, mungkin bisa menyimak informasi tambahan di grup peserta masing-masing. Terima kasih.